Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Then check out Deal to Heal Teas. With our inspirational teas, you're sure to find something to inspire you. That's deal2healteas.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to deal2healteas.com. Again, that's deal2healteas.com. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Girl Dad Discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James, and I believe the relationship between a daughter and her father is one of the most important relationships a young lady can have. And therefore, my mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by sharing the voices of girl dads to the world. So check out our podcast on every platform where podcasts can be listened to. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel. Again, that's the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with your host, Ernest James. Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I am your host, Ernest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, please check us out at the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network, which is our new YouTube channel, where not only can you find the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, but you also can find the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where I have conversations with other girl dads like myself, and sometimes even with the daughters themselves, talking about the relationships of the dad and daughter relationship in order to combat the narrative of the absent father and the fatherless daughter. So make sure you guys check us out, the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, as well as the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast on our podcasting network channel, the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network on YouTube. Make sure you guys are checking us out there. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys who've been around for a while. We've been at this for a couple years now, so we definitely appreciate you guys tuning in once again. One more thing. As you guys know, we are a self-sustained podcast, and one of the ways we stay on the air is by bringing you amazing products for you to purchase. And so our products of the week is our Purpose Journal as well as our Purpose Planner, because I believe that we need to be purpose about being mindful of where we've been and also planning for where we're going. So you guys get your Purpose Journal or your Purpose Planner. Both are available on Amazon. The links will be in the description, as well as a lot of other great information. Please make sure you guys go and check out the description and the notes in the descriptions, because there's a lot of valuable information there. All right. So today, just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Miss Tiffany. How you doing?
What's up? I was like jamming and grooving as you were playing your intro, and I was like, let's go.
Good. First of all, let me say thank you for being here, because you could have been doing anything else with anyone else, but you're here with me and my listeners. We definitely appreciate it. And so we're going to jump right in this thing. Do me a favor. Introduce yourself to my audience. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having a podcast that I can just come be myself on and have a conversation with another human about what it's like to live this life and to just share for other people to listen. I think that that's such a gift to the world. So thank you. Thank you. I am Tiffany Simms. I am a girl that loves the water. I am energized by the sun. I love the color pink. Walking my dog by our river down the street is my favorite. It's the thing I do every time like I can't slow my brain down and I don't know what to do next. It's either a dance party in my living room or a walk outside, and then suddenly it's like, okay, I know exactly what I need to go do, and like I've got this. Let's see what else, because you asked me what I do, but I think who I am is so much more interesting than what I do. I absolutely think Walt Disney is an inspiration. I think that anytime that a human gets stuck in who do I think I am to do this, think that there was a man in the like 40s and 50s who built an amusement park in a swamp. No one could see it. No, everyone thought he was crazy. The man had gone bankrupt, had his drawings stolen, and he built Disney World in a swamp. And so if he can do that and it can live beyond his years, then we can do whatever it is that was placed on our heart to go serve and step into. Like, it's so powerful to me. And for work, I love helping people learn how to go to their next level without the burnout, guilt, shame, and exhaustion. Anyone who has had any level of success did it most likely got successful with the hustle, the grind, the sacrificing, the all in on the one thing, being militant and compliant and disciplined, but the rest of their life was falling apart while they did the one thing. Well, that's not sustainable. And who wants to do that long term? And so I help humans learn how to create harmony between their health, their relationships, and the way they earn money so that they can just live in harmony and be a whole person everywhere they go rather than feeling like they're competing with the different hats they wear. So yeah, that is me in like a 32-second nutshell.
I love it. I love it. You said a couple of things that kind of touched me. One of the things was you walking your dog, and one of the things that I do. I just got into hiking last year, right? And so I've been doing that, but I haven't had a chance to go hiking because my work schedule has been crazy. But I did get a chance to go to the beach the other day. And I didn't even get in the water, but I went to the beach just to walk along the lakefront. And I'm in Chicago, so we have a beautiful lakefront area. And so just to get out, get away from the city, should I say, and just be able to walk, just take that walk along the beach. It does wonders for me.
It's
So
grounding.
yeah, yeah. So I was so happy to be able to get that in the other day. So I'm like, yes. But I also understand, and then you mentioned Walt Disney, and who's definitely an inspiration, and but also those of us who are trying to build a legacy, trying to build something that not just for us to enjoy, but something that will contribute to the generations after us. Definitely something like a podcast, to be able to leave something that's going to be here long after I'm gone. You know what I mean? And hopefully people still listening and still watching, because I've added value and my guests have added value, and it takes some working. It takes some grinding, and there have been some conversations even with myself, even in the podcasting journey, and even as my journey as a speaker. I'm always watching something, and then just not watching crazy stuff, but watching stuff that's editing, edifying, and that gives me growth. And I've been told sometimes, like, all right, you need to put your phone down, or why you still listen to another podcast? And I had someone come to my house. I have a bookshelf in my house. I had someone come to my house and they're looking at my bookshelf and they're like, "Is all your books like self-help books and personal
You're my
development?"
people.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And so yeah, so sometimes it can, the drive to do it, the drive to create, the drive to create something great, to become something great, to help others become something great. It can be taxing, and it can wear us down if we're not careful. And so, with the work that you do with helping people with burnout, what is your backstory? Was that something that you experienced yourself, or maybe it was someone that you seen experience it that just moved you to say, you know what, I'm going to put some effort into this area to help others?
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to say, I don't know that we know it's happening when we're in it. Hindsight is 2020 and everything becomes crystal clear. And the clarity you think you have when you first realize what was happening, fast forward 10 years and it's a whole different storyline that you see the meaning of an event in your life. And so like you literally change your history as you age forward because your perspective changes, which I think is mind boggling that we're all time travelers. I've never said that out loud. I don't know that I've ever thought that before, but it's true. So I think the reason I was setting it up like that is when I think about the stages of my life where like I burnt myself out, I was burning at all ends of the candle. And there were times I didn't know it was happening. And then immediately afterwards, I had opinions about it. And where I sit right now, I have different opinions about it. And so it started with my struggles with eating. I had developed a binge eating disorder as a young child. I had learned, like when I was 10, I had learned to regulate my emotions through food. And so anytime I was dysregulated, and it's not like we know that's what's happening. Yeah. And it's not like, you know what I mean? But as an adult, when I look back, that was exactly what was happening. My dad left, my mom was struggling, like there was just chaos. And I was just trying to figure it out in my little 10-year-old body. And I was always hungry. And anytime I would say, hey, I'm hungry, it would be like, we just ate. How could you be hungry? So like the programming of like, well, my belly says I'm hungry, but you're saying I shouldn't be. So my body and my belly are wrong. And then it turned into learning how to use food, like I said, to cope with emotions. And fast forward, that exacerbated itself to a point where I had checked myself into an outpatient patient eating disorder center because the doctors weren't helping. I couldn't help myself. And I just felt like if I didn't get something under control, like I wasn't going to make it. Like no matter what I did, I was gaining weight. And so that leads to a level of burnout when I look back. Everything about my life was consumed by what I did or didn't eat, should or shouldn't have eaten, the workout I did or didn't miss, or was going to need to do to make up for what I ate, right? So my whole life was consumed by food and my body. And so there's no room for real relationships. It's hard to be present at work if you're hungry or thinking about where your next meal is. So I worked on that really hard and got that under control. And then I was like all in on my career and I was so good at my job and I loved it. So I didn't feel like I was sacrificing anything. But then a point came where like I was so good at my career, but like my family started saying things like they felt like I was never around. Or like I'm like you've missed the last 3 Christmases because you've picked up overtime, or that you took the night shift and you couldn't come to the event, and all of those little like murmurings. And at first it was like, you don't understand. And then over time it was like, man, if I'm working to provide a life for my family so we can go on these adventures, but I'm never actually spending time with them, like, is that really like, is it all working out for me? And so anyway, I figured that part out and I felt so good. And then I allowed myself to get burnt out. And I say that so intentionally because the times before with like the eating and then the all in on my career, I didn't allow myself to burn out. I got burnt out. I was doing too much, too hard. But when I allowed myself to get burnt out, it was because I was neglecting all of the signs and signals that my body was giving me that said, hey, ding dong, something isn't right. And whether it was my body would have a reaction when someone would speak to me a certain way or silence me a certain way, because I worked in a very male-dominated workforce. And so that came with its own challenges. Yeah. And it would be like, oh, you're just being dramatic. You're being too sensitive. Just push through. You don't want them to think that you can't handle the pressure, especially if you want to rise in ranks, right? So like if they think you can't handle it now, you're going to block yourself. And so like I was ignoring all of these signs and signals. And then came a moment where I felt like I had finally found peace. My health was good. My body was good. My career was good. And I was sitting in this boardroom getting ready to give a kick butt presentation. And I'm looking around this room, Ernest, to all of these people that I aspired to grow into. And I was like, man, you've gained about 50 pounds since taking that role in the last 18 months. your wife just left you and your adult children don't talk to you. Like, I don't want that. I've worked too
Mhm.
hard to provide for my family. And then it was like this guy over here, like his family was good, his health looked in order, but his team down in the shop. So I worked in nuclear power for 12 years. I kept your lights on. I worked for Exelon. They're based out of Chicago. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm like, but your team's in shambles. And Tiffany back then, so proud of her for thinking this, was like, that must mean you don't know how to lead yourself, because leaders lead from the front. And then people follow by example, not because you tell them what to do, you help them in life. And I was like, am I supposed to teach them what I've learned? And I was like, no, 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 no. That would be ridiculous, little girl. You're 30 years old. Who do you think you are to tell these grown people how to live their life and have it all? And so I gave my presentation, and 2 years passed where finally the universe slapped me in the face enough times where I said, okay, I got it. And it wasn't until I was in the doctor's office thinking I was having a heart attack, because the universe had planted the seed on my heart of, I think you had gone through all of this stuff, had to do the personal development, go to the seminars, do the stuff to find your happy peace so that you could go teach the other people in the hamster wheel how to have it all. And I thought I was unqualified. Who was I to do that? So I didn't jump because it was scary and I didn't know what the other side looked like. So I left myself planted in a pot that no longer was for me, which led to this anxiety attack, as my doctor called it. But me, I couldn't have anxiety attack. That was for weak people. I was a strong, independent woman. I had my stuff together. Like, I could get anything done. And I was embarrassed. I was so embarrassed that she gave me 10 work days off to get myself together to try to regulate my system. And I was so nervous when someone was going to find out, because that story was like, oh, if she's having panic attacks and she needs time off work, how is she ever going to take on the next level of responsibility? And it was in that where I was like, oh man, the universe had to slow me down to push me out of my comfort zone so that I went and left and did the thing it told me I was supposed to do, which was like step into this space of showing other people the steps to figuring out how to create that harmony. And so it was like a series of events, and no one thing by itself did it, but it
Mhm.
was like all of those little pieces, when you pull them together, was what created the framework that I created, which was the life GPS system, which is how do you take you as a person and all of the things that you love, the hiking and the kayaking and like the adventures, and then put that in the center of your GPS and have your version of success for your health, your relationships, and your career, so that that was then your GPS for everything that came in front of you, from the way I ate to the conversations I said yes to the opportunities, all of that. And so, like, it's such a beautiful journey when you sit there and you get to like reminisce in it, because you're like, man, she is so cool. She is the bravest person I've known, and she has overcome some stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I love it. I love it. You said a couple things, right? You said a couple things. I'm gonna go back and try to remember everything that resonated with me. But one of the things that resonated with me to start was that hindsight is 2020. Because when we're doing the work and we're out here trying to provide for the family and everything, not taking time to really look at what we're doing and make sure that what we're working for, we're actually getting the results that we want. Right. And so you mentioned about your family saying, I don't feel like you're around enough, or you're missing out of parties and things of that nature. And I shared this one part when I started the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, right, which is the other podcast that I have, because I'm a girl dad. My daughter is she just made 22 actually, like a couple weeks ago. She just turned 22.
You guys are making it. You're both still here.
Yeah. But I shared this because one of the things that I'll share the story first. The story is when she was younger, probably 7 or 8, around that age, she had her first daddy daughter dance, right? And I didn't go. I said I had to work, and I said I'll miss this one, but I'll catch the next one. And like I said, she just turned 22 a couple weeks ago, and there never was a next one. And so that always stuck with me. Like, I didn't have that opportunity. or I didn't even say I didn't have it. I passed on it because of I'm trying to pay the bills. I'm trying to make sure I can give you what you want, and out of those things. But like I said, and like you said, when you start looking at like, okay, is my actions actually doing the thing that I said I'm doing it for? The reason that I said I'm doing it for, and that's one thing that has always stuck with me up until now. And this year, I came up with the idea last year, but this year we're doing our very first daddy daughter dance for dads and daughters of all ages, right? And for me, with in conjunction with the Girl Dad Discussion podcast, so that myself and other girl dads like myself, who whatever age that we are, can have that moment that we may have missed while we were trying to work and trying to do all of those things. And so we're going to do it this year. This is going to be our first
I
year,
love that
and we're going
so
to try to do it
much.
every year, you know. And
I love that.
yeah, and like you said, but hindsight is 2020, because in that moment, back then it was like, oh, I gotta work, but dad'll get you on the next one, and then you look back and 22 years went by. You know
But
what I
you,
mean?
but you know something that I think that is not a popular opinion right now in our society is that sometimes we had to go through the experiences we have to actually know what we value and
Mhm.
to have something to compare it to. Like, I feel like in society, it's like there's like this very anti corporate culture. There's a like, what's the point of working for someone else? You're missing all the moments. And I think that that is like such a surface level piece of the conversation
Mhm.
because we have no idea what the lessons we were supposed to learn in this lifetime were. And like, what happens if you came here and that was the lesson and you learned it and then you just got an A on the test because you were given that opportunity? You understand now to your core, there are no ifs, ands, or buts the next
Mhm.
time something comes up. Like, if you hadn't have learned that, maybe you would have missed something even more significant in the
Right.
future. And so
Yeah.
it's so hard. I have such a hard time when people have regret and they're like, oh, I wish that hadn't happened or I wasted all that time. And it's like, but did you? Because you
Yeah.
are learning it now and that's setting you up for the next thing that you don't even know is coming. You would have never helped put this event together had you not missed that event.
Hmm.
Do you
Yes.
know what I mean? That ripple effect
Yes.
is huge.
Two things. I'll get back to the other thing, but since you brought this up, I want to mention this. Oh, so not okay. Other things is coming to my mind, so now I got to slow down. So, um, this journey that I've been on over the last 3 years with the podcast and with the speaking career, with everything that I've been doing, the writings, everything I've been doing in the last 3 years, came from a result of me going through a divorce, right? And I always have to say this. It has nothing to do with my ex-wife, right? So me and my ex-wife are actually very great friends. She's actually one of my oldest friends. We've been friends since we were in kindergarten, and so it has nothing to do with, oh, the marriage was bad or whatever. It just was a incident, just was a change, what I'm saying, that happened. But as a result, it opened up so many doors and moved me into the direction that I've been going the last couple of years. And so what I've learned is, there's a scripture that says every all things work for the good of those that love the Lord. And I really look at my life since my divorce, and I can really say that why I never wanted to get divorced, because I got divorced, all of these things started happening, and all of these creations and all of these opportunities started happening as a result of going through that season. And so I'm definitely one that can look back and say it's nothing is wasted. You know what I mean? Like every
Not a
lesson that
time.
we learn, everything that we go through, nothing is wasted. There's a reason behind it all. And it's like you said, once you look at it and say, oh, this is why I went through that, and you're able to take that and express it, then that's when you learn the lesson. And the lesson might not even be for you. You know what I mean? Like, I might have been the one that went through it, but it wasn't for me. It was for me to help those who I'm supposed to help, who may need help to go through it, whatever that thing is.
Or sometimes I call them side quests because there are seasons in my life that I did not understand where I went wrong and why certain things were happening to me. I had a
Mhm.
miscarriage. I was in a narcissistic relationship without even knowing it for 5 years that ended with him putting his hands on me. Like, talk about a six-figure, very successful career woman who went to college, lived in a nice neighborhood, had the house, the cars, the whole thing. And like that identity crisis of like, I do not look like the poster in the health department. Like, how did this happen? And realized that I had to experience all of that to recognize that love does come in all shapes and sizes. That just because something ends poorly doesn't mean that everything before that was a lie or a waste or invaluable and now null and void. And I had to be in that relationship because we did push each other. Like, I was a very type A woman, and he was a very type A man. Like, we pushed each other to be better till we were in competition with each other. Not We worked together, and I got a promotion that I didn't ask for that he applied for. And instead of being happy for our household that like we as a couple were succeeding, he told me the only reason I got the job was because I had a vagina and checked a box. And so like that was the beginning of his spiral out of it, because he couldn't handle being with a successful woman. Rather than like, had he gone, I'd been like, heck yes, we're getting more money. Let's go team. Like, I'm so proud of you. But because of that, I stepped into roles that I don't know that I would have stepped into and had the confidence to step into without his nudge, without his drive. You know what I mean? So I had to be there to learn powers within myself, to develop skills that I didn't have before, and then also to learn like what I was willing and not willing to tolerate in like passively in relationships. I think so often, at least for me, like in relationships, sometimes we like make excuses for our friends and family for why they are the way they are. And it's like, oh, if you just understood their story, you'd get it. Like, they don't mean any harm by it. And like now I see that very differently. And so all those side quests literally are preparing us to be the version of us that are sitting in this chair right now. And I just think that's so cool. How could that have been a waste or an accident?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not, when we stop and we look at it and look at the lessons that we learn through each experience, then we're able to really be like, oh, I see why I had to go through that because I learned this, and I think when we don't learn it, I think that's when we question it the most, right? I
Yeah.
remember my pastor, my old pastor used to always say, when we ask, how long would this lesson last? He always say it'll last until you pass. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
I
like
like
you'll,
that.
you'll keep on going through the same thing over and over again until you learn the lesson. And then when we talk about relationships, like that's why you keep dating the same type of person over and over again. Like you change the face, you change the name, but it's the same person over and over again because you haven't learned, whatever it was that you're supposed to learn. Like whether this type of person is good for you or is not good for you or whatever it is, you'll keep on going through that lesson over and over again in life if you don't learn what it is that you're supposed to learn.
That's
And
just
sometimes
so
there's like
amazing
time in
having this
between.
chat. I, I didn't I would have never said this 6 months ago, but the phrase that comes from the core of my being is like divine timing is everything. And everything is divine timing plus aligned action equals magic. Like that is what came out of me last week. It used to just be divine timing, and that whole formula came out of me last week. But there's a reason we're having that we weren't able to record the first time that we were supposed to, because this conversation wouldn't have happened. I just earlier this week had said, like, if you feel like life is throwing you on the hamster wheel and it's the same thing over and over and over again and you can't catch a break, like when's it going to be your turn to breathe? Like that's the moment to pause and take inventory without judgment, but just checking in of like, what in my life is working, which things are not, because something in here is a lesson that we hadn't learned or identified yet, where we get to then see it and move through it differently. And then all of a sudden, like the sun comes out and the sky turns blue again, until we get to the next one that we got comfy in and we couldn't see the pattern. And then you just get faster. You get faster at identifying that you're on the hamster wheel and pausing. And so you move through the levels a little bit quicker every time you practice. But like, that's so crazy that you just said that. I literally just had this conversation earlier this week.
Yeah, yeah. And I believe so. One of my prayers and affirmations every morning is, God, give me divine opportunity and divine appointment, right? So that I meet the right person at the right time to do what it is that you have us to do, that you will have us to do. And I think that that's so important, like you said, that divine scheduling, that divine timing, because there are some people you meet and you don't even know why you meet them, right? Or at the moment that you meet them, you think is, oh, I just met this person, but then a year from now or something, it's a whole turnaround, and you're like, oh, that's why I met this, because we were supposed to do this. I met a friend of mine. I met a friend of mine. I think we met on Facebook. I think we actually met on Facebook maybe like 3 years ago. We met on Facebook and we became friends and actually lived near each other and was like, oh, okay, let's hang out. And, that was cool. We met each other. One of the things in conversations that we had was she started a organization called the Forgiveness Mission, and um, she had this event where she talked about forgiveness, and she had this whole thing about it. And she had it maybe like 2 years before we had ever met. And she was like, I think I want to do it again. Something been in me and people been asking me about starting, restarting and getting it started again. So I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. If you get started again, I'll help you with it. It's been 2 years. We've been doing these workshops the last 2 years. We started off doing them quarterly, and then now we're doing them bi-monthly. And now we also started doing a in-person event with it because it's virtual. And just by a chance meeting on Facebook, and now 3 years down the line, we're still being consistent, with this organization. And I've been supporting her, and we've had more people join, and is growing, and we're doing great things with it. But had we never met, you know what I mean? Who's to say what happened, and who's to say, you know, again, how God's timing worked for what it is that He has us to do, and what the plans that He has for us to learn from our own mistakes, our own lives, and then that He has for us to pour into other people. And one of the things that I always say is God's plan for us is to love one another, right? And I always tell people, if you look at the Ten Commandments and you read each of the Ten Commandments, uh, there's more direction in the Ten Commandments and how we treat each other than how we treat God, right? So even in His direction to us, He said, "Yeah, I want you to do this for me, but I want you to care more about how you treat one another." So I
Yeah.
think it's like four to six. I think four of the Ten Commandments is like directly like, you should have no other God before me. Is like, this is what you do for me. But the other six is like, this is how you treat one another. And I think oftentimes we forget that. We get so caught up in the things that we have going on in our own lives and things of that nature, that we forget that our whole existence is to honor God in the way that we treat each other, in the way that we love each other and uplift each other.
I think there's also a thing that we get so caught up in, like, how this is serving us. Where are we going? What's going to be next? Oh, I go to this event and like nothing fruitful came from it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, you have no idea the stepping stone you played in someone else's story by being in conversation with them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, like, a conversation you have in the grocery store, sometimes it is 100% for you. And you get to the car and you're like, I think, like, thank goodness that just happened. That was for me. I needed that, like, moment of positivity. I needed that conversation. I needed whatever it was. And there's other times where it was like such a great conversation, but the other person goes to their car and their life changes from something that like stirred inside of them from a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was directly something we said or the indirect consequence of now their brain is spinning, and now that idea that just changed their life popped in, or the conversation that they need to like have when they get home, now that they're a little calmer because they had a really pleasant conversation with someone. Right now they get to have a fruitful conversation with their partner about the things that aren't working, rather than the heated one that they were
Mm-hmm.
stirring around as they walked through the grocery
Yeah.
store. And so, like, I think about that too. I walk through life. We can talk about walking Lexi. Lexi's the dog. And we'll walk down the street, and this sounds so crazy when I say it out loud, but there will be times where I'll walk
and it'll be in the afternoons. I'm like, I really hope that everyone on the street is having a great day. And like, as I walk by, I hope no matter what that's happening to them, they just feel a sense of peace, or they smile, or like there's something, like there's always like good, I'm always giving good wishes
Mhm.
everywhere I go. Does it, I don't know. Does it matter? Does it matter? But what if it really is that simple to spread magic in the world? By just wishing people who don't know you exist because you're walking by their house, I really hope everyone in that house is having a good day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. And I believe it does. I believe we have an aura about us, right? And how we carry ourselves and our intentions that we put out into the world, just on our day to day. Just like you intentionally thought, you know what? I hope everyone is having a great day that's out here. You know what I mean? And I think that puts off an energy, you know, around you, so that even if they weren't having a great day, just by passing by you, and that energy of I want you to have a bad day, whether you say it or not. You know what I mean? It's just that energy of being contagious and be like, you know what? Maybe I don't. I feel a little better now.
yeah, you
Maybe
don't know, and they don't need to know
yeah,
why. They don't need to
yeah.
know why, but it brings the, you know what I mean? Well, my partner and I walked into the grocery store just last week, and I'm just being myself. We're just walking in the grocery store, and every person says hello to me. I'm like, hi, and one was like, how's it going? And I stopped and I turned around to make eye contact. I said, really good. Thanks for asking. How are you? And my partner, he was like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm just saying hello to the people who are saying hi to me. He's like, how hard is it to just be like, hey, and you keep going? I was like, everyone deserves to be seen and acknowledged.
Right.
Like every person deserves to be seen and acknowledged. And if you're bagging groceries at the grocery store, like that is not an easy life. You're making
Mhm.
minimum wage. People are probably yelling at you for smushing their bread. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how hard is it to just pause for 2 seconds to see someone? And I, this person has always been in there. She didn't always know how to live on the outside,
Mhm.
because it was like, sit down and listen in the meeting. Why did you think that you deserved a right to speak up? Because I had something to say and I truly believed you were wrong and incorrect. And I needed to make sure it was on the table before we made a wrong decision as a team. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and so it took her a really long time to learn how to be herself. Because the things that are my gifts in this world, in my other roles, in my other versions of me, they were like those soft skills that were like undervalued. But I
Yeah.
have people like a boss. I love people. And it was the thing that I think made me really success. I haven't thought about this in a really long time. Thank you for having a sandbox for me to play in the different crevices of my brain. Um, I was on the leadership path. And one of the pieces of feedback that I used to get consistently was, you're too friendly. You will never survive as a leader if you are always making friends with everyone. And I remember pushing back and being like, I don't think knowing that Jack down in the waterfront coaches his grandchildren's baseball game and that they had a championship this weekend, and me remembering to ask him about it, like affects being able to have a closed door conversation when it's needed to say like, hey, we're not meeting expectations, here's the game plan, this is what we're going to do together, and then opening the door and being a human again. If anything, I think it strengthens that.
Mhm.
And the reason I was so good at my job, I could get anything done, was because I cared about people. And I thought about like the thing I was asking, what was it going to be in it for them? When they went and did this thing that I knew they didn't want to do, how was it going to make their life better? And it was like, hey, I know you don't want to do this, but if we get this done, if we can get this knocked out in the next 2 weeks, you remember how you scheduled that date night with your wife to take her out of town because you haven't been around? Well, we're not going to get called in on weekends and you're actually going to be able to fulfill your promise. They were all in. And then if I went to the executive board, same project, I'd talk about ROI and what was in the KPIs and like how that was going to work in the budget and in their favor. Because like if you know what's important to people and you treat people like people, well then magically you feel good, you're calm all the time, and like you know that you can always get through anything, and you build a network of people who would literally walk through walls for you because you
Mhm.
cared about them.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know how we landed here, but What a fun
Yeah, and
question.
I was going to say that. I was just thinking, like, okay, this conversation did not go to, well, I guess it does go to burnout in some way. How to not go to burnout, I guess we can say.
Yeah,
Because
everyone knows how
it
to burn
definitely
out.
did.
Let's talk about how to love the life you live.
Oh, listen. Oh, my God. So I mentioned to you earlier that I started hiking, right? I started hiking last year and I enjoyed it so much. And I'm glad that you just said what you just said because it goes right back to where I am right now. Because I started my online community and just talking about this same concept and in my community and online was that I started hiking and I enjoyed it so much that I was doing it one day and I just thought like, what if I can enjoy everything in my life the way that I'm enjoying this? And so I started this concept of living the life I love. And I've been talking about it all year, right? And I'm like, I think I'm going to like develop a whole little course or something. I don't know, but that's been the journey that I've been on this year. Is like every area, like really addressing each area of my life, whether it's relationships, family, work, hobbies, whatever, and say, okay, what do I need to adjust in this area so that I love it, so that whenever I come to this space, I don't have to worry about anything wrong or whatever because I adjusted it and got it to the point that now I love this area. And if I do that in every area of my life, then I really can love the life that I'm living. And
You
that's,
just
I'm glad
cracked
you
it.
said
That
that.
is literally the secret to life. You did it. Everyone wants to set goals on the next achievement that they think will bring them the feeling that they're
Mhm.
searching for. And then we check the box and we're like, cool, we did it. But I don't feel any different. If anything, I feel more exhausted, more disconnected, more like I don't know who I am and what I'm doing, and more lost than ever. But when you think about where you are and where you want to be, and then you choose goals that help you close that gap, that's when life changes.
Yeah, yeah. I think if we focus on the feeling and let the feeling lead us to the actions instead of focusing on the actions and hoping the action lead us to the feelings, then that's when we find that sweet spot. Because like if I'm already happy, then what do I do when I'm happy? And then just indulge in those things instead of saying, well, let me go over here and see if that's going to make me happy. Oh no, that didn't work. Well, let me go over here. You know what I mean? Like if we walk in happiness first, if we walk in contentment first, if we walk in love first, and then say, okay, now that I'm here in this space, what do I enjoy? Then that's when we start finding the actions that would just lead us to more and more into those spaces. I love it.
This popped up on my, I want to share this with you because it just dropped in my heart. I had this thought last week while I was walking Lexi around or down by the water, and it was, are you more committed to your destination, or are you more committed to the path you think you have to take to get there?
Hmm.
And in that moment, I was thinking about like my life and where my business fits in it. And I thought, based off of where I thought I wanted my previous destination that I was going, the way my business was being built was very specific, was a very specific path that was going to get me a very specific result. But when I sat and I was able to like find another layer of what I really wanted, it evolved into this space where I was like, you know what I really want at the end of the day? To lay down and have the perfect day. It's I got to have really amazing conversations about life in the world with some really amazing humans, and I get to travel and adventure the world with my mom. That is it. Well, if that is true, are there that means that there's other ways to achieve that than the one I was actively pursuing
Mhm.
that I was struggling in, and that was starting to like take the joy out of my day. And since I had that moment of like, oh, are we committed to the path we thought we were supposed to take, or the destination? Like five more new doors opened up in the last 5 days that I didn't even know existed for me to like explore and figure out. And so like, yeah, that's like my new catchphrase now. I think that is going to be like one of those ones that lands in the presentation and stays there for a while
Yeah.
because it changes everything. And when you think about it that way, like it allows you to get curious. In weight loss, I started my career in weight loss after I left nuclear power. And in weight loss, like everyone wants to lose weight. And so we follow the guide for the person who is getting ready for their photo shoot to be on the cover of Shape magazine. Well, that was their job, to be Photoshop ready, photo cover ready, right? That's a
Mhm.
very detailed, specific plan. But if your goal is to just be able to tie your shoes without feeling like you're going to pop, or to climb the stairs without having boob sweat and out of breath, or to be able to play with your kids or get up and down the floor, well, then following something that makes you miserable to get a result you don't even care about, like it
Mhm.
doesn't match. And so then a lot of people, they might get the result, but they're still miserable because they didn't fix all the other things that were leading to us eating our feelings. And so, like, where is it that you're trying to go? That's how you avoid burnout. Burnout isn't the byproduct of working too hard. It's the like cost of success, if you will. It's what happens when we do not have harmony between our health, our relationships, and our career. And when we start to feel that, what I found is that when we start to feel that like discomfort of like, this is not working for me, that's not the moment to just buckle down and push harder. It's the moment to be like, oh, which of my buckets has changed and I didn't update my GPS system? I'm operating on an old system and an old map, and I need to change it. Like maybe we're going to Disney World, but we decided we wanted to hit the beach over in San Diego and then go up to LA to hit Anaheim to go to Disneyland instead. Well, you can't go to Orlando and LA in the same car, right? So
Right.
you got to update the GPS system. And that doesn't mean you were broken. It doesn't mean that we were wrong for pursuing the things we did before. It just means that we got to a new spot and we have a new view. And now we want to go to a different place and try something else. And I think that that's the beauty of life, Ernest. And I think that that's something that society like conditions us is wrong. Like, oh, it's okay to outgrow dump trucks and Barbies, but you're not
Right.
allowed to outdate identities and roles that you play as an adult. Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. Man, Tiffany, I really enjoyed this conversation, and we can go for another hour. And we might have to do another episode where we really focus on burnout.
We really
And I
did
think
focus
this
on
was like
burnout.
all the way around, but I think we did. I think we did a lot of uh, a lot of speaking to the core of the person, which would definitely lead them to
That's how we
adjust
avoid.
themselves to prevent actually going into burnout. But you know what? We can have another episode just because. I mean, it don't have to be for burnout. It's just because I love this conversation that we had. So we just do it again. But I really appreciate having you on. I want you to have the last word, and I want you to leave us with, how we can work with you and your social media handles and all of those things. And I want you to leave us with a word of advice, inspiration, or something, whatever that's on your heart. And I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Make sure you guys are checking us out on our website, the Deal healfulfill.org, which is our organizational website, which is going to get a makeover soon. It is. I don't like the way that it looks now. I grew out of it. Speaking of changes, I liked it when I first got it. Now I'm like, oh, this is outdated. But we're still there. So make sure you guys are checking us out at dealhealfulfill.org at our website. Also, make sure you guys go to ebooksbyejames.com and check out some of the ebooks that I've written that I have available. I have a ebook called From Males to Men, which is a male mentoring ebook. I have the ebook The Core Four, which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father, which is the ebook that we talk about a lot on the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. And then I also have the Forgiving Me, the 4-step guide to self forgiveness, which is a big one, which is one of my favorite ones. And so you guys can go to ebooksbyejames.com in order to check those out, as well as go to deal2healtees.com to check out our inspirational t-shirt line, which includes our podcast merch, which is our t-shirts with our podcast logos on it. There's one for the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, and there is one for the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. And then there's our just other inspirational tees, inspirational designs that we have there. Make sure you guys go to the number 2 healtees.com. That's deal2healtees.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline. Make sure you guys go and check it out. Last but not least, we talked about it a little earlier. The last couple of years, I've been blessed to be a part of this organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops bi-monthly talking about everything surrounding forgiveness, forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of the world, really diving deep into the world of forgiveness, which we believe plays a major part in the love that we show for one another. So make sure you guys go to forgivenessmission.com to sign up for our next free virtual workshop. Whenever you're listening to this, either one just ended or there's one coming up. They are absolutely free, but the information is priceless. So again, go to forgivenessmission.com, or you can go to Eventbrite and look up Forgiveness Workshop sponsored by the Forgiveness Mission, and take part of our free virtual workshops. Miss Tiffany, thank you so very much for coming on. Thank you so very much for this conversation. I love the little heart things. I don't know how to do that. I've seen people do it, but I don't know how to do it. I'm figuring it out. But thank you so much for being on. Thank you for sharing your story, sharing your expertise. Found so much value in it. Loved having the conversation. I want you to have the last word, so the floor is yours.
Yeah. Every human I talk to says that if I just had 5 minutes to myself, I could probably change the world, but there just isn't enough time in the day. And so if that's you, DM me the word time, either on Facebook or Instagram. And I want to send you my time hacks guide that's going to help you get an hour back in your day as soon as tomorrow. Hack number 3 is my absolute favorite. It will change your life. It has changed my life and many of my clients' life. And so again, time, and you can send that to either Facebook or Instagram. I'm at the Tiffany Simms, SIMMS, and I would love to send that over to you. If I were to leave you with anything, you are exactly where you are. You don't have to know what you're doing 10 steps from now. You just have to trust that you can make the next step and that you'll figure it out. Because the truth is that you have overcome 100% of your worst days. And so today will be no different. And so we can do anything one step at a time and just dare to dream big.
All right. We can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, where our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal2Heal Tees. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. Let's go to deal2healtees.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.